joined by Colin Campbell here at NamesCon 2016. Colin, how are you?
Oh, thank you for interviewing me here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you again.
Yep, absolutely.
How was 2015 for you in .club?
Oh, I mean, 2015 was just an incredible ride, especially as we began to get near the end of the year in the fourth quarter, where we saw a lot of demand come in from China.
Right.
And I think in November we sold about $2 million in premium names, and then December kicks off when we launched 13,000 new names through our registrar channel, and we end up selling 5,500 of those names, premium names, mostly to the Chinese market. What we're seeing is very interesting is that we're seeing a lot of demand for some domain extensions in China, including .club, for the very short characters. So we're seeing demand for 1 character, 2 character, 3 characters, and even 4 character numbers. And now we're starting to see demand for 5 and 6 because all of those categories have sold out for the .club extension. It really started with .com, as you know, right? And the craziness there and the high valuations, and that sort of leaked over to some of the other names that are being promoted in China like .club.
Right, so it's starting to kind of trickle into some of the newer TLDs that are emerging as well.
The newer domain extensions.
Migration, exactly.
Yeah.
So, amongst all of the new GTLDs, word on the street and the kind of popular perception is that .club is by far and away one of the most popular and one of the most successful new extensions. Can you tell us more about how you decided to co-found this and to become this registry, and what was the kind of impetus to do this?
Absolutely. So when my last company at Hostopia, I sold it to a company called Deluxe Communications. They make the checks in the United States, and they've been getting very heavily into the technology side. I was there for 3 years as CEO, and I decided to do a study of the new domain extensions that were going to come out. I worked with Roger Collins from Afternic, formerly Afternic, and we put together an analysis of all the new domain extensions, and we looked at what's going to make a domain extension successful, and really concluded that short names with meaning or generics with meaning would have a high pickup rate. The other thing we looked at is how applicable that word is globally. It's interesting when you walk in China, you can see Chinese characters and then CLUB. It's used very prominently in China,
yeah.
But not only China. When you go to Brazil, when you go to Germany, when you go to Russia, it's used very prominently all over the world. So we looked at all these criteria, and we came up with about 20, really top targets, and Club was one of those. After I'd left the company, was out for about a year or two, I went back, when the new domain extensions were releasing, and I asked them if they were going to launch them, and they said that, we're a big company and all this, and it's just, we feel it's too risky to be launching new GTLDs. And so I said, well, can I launch .club? And they gave me the go-ahead to do that. And so we raised $11 million. We went into an auction. It was a very competitive domain extension. We were able to win it early on, which I think gave us a little bit of an edge in the launch and the marketing. But it really is a name that is generic with meaning. And what's interesting on the usage side, Bill Hartzer did a study of usage and found that of all the new domain extensions, .club was by far the most popular, 3 times that of the number 2, which was .link. And 12% of all the websites indexed on Google that are live are .club sites of all the new GTLDs. And if you think about how many have launched, how many domain extensions, that's pretty good. So we're really big on usage.
What are some things in the industry that you think are missing? What are some things that you'd like to see in terms of technological or innovative advances in the domain industry that don't exist yet?
It's a great question. What we're beginning to see is this competition and innovation that ICANN has talked about. And when you open up new domain extensions, we're really beginning to see this. So we have at our office, we have a domain name, execmeeting.club, and I have my own myconference.club, and all it does is point to our conference bridge. It's a private label conference bridge.
Right.
And we're starting to see people use domain extensions, especially like .club, to point to their Facebook page or their social pages. We see a number of meetups where a lot of meetups use club extension to point to their meetup, so they're branding their meetup. We see a lot of bloggers the blog spot with Google, we see a lot of people using club to point to the blogger. So we're seeing more and more uses of domain extensions because they're becoming more and more available, they're more and more brandable, and I think that's pretty exciting. The other thing I have to say though is I am disappointed a little bit with ICANN. I think they've done a decent job so far in trying to open up the competition, but they've collected hundreds of millions of dollars in excess fees from these new domain extensions and have not done anything with respect to global awareness. If ICANN could spend some of those funds, 100 million or 200 million, and do a Got Milk style campaign, I think we could really see the awareness of the new GTLDs, the new extensions, begin to permeate throughout society. Because I'll tell you, it's you ask people on the street, they're just confused, just pure confusion out there.
Goes without saying there are many clubs that are using the extension, but what are some of your favorites that you've seen and come across?
I mean, obviously we've seen some pretty exciting ones, like Demi Lovato launched Lovato.club.
Oh, cool.
You know, Charlie Puth, he's a new singer, his new hit song, One Call Away, he embedded Promenade.club into the video. So I thought that was really cool, and that's got like 20, 30 million views. And here we're starting to get, so we're seeing the high-profile celebrities use .club, because obviously fan clubs, it's a natural fit for fan clubs.
That's right.
But then, I get really excited when I see the Austin Beer Runner.club, or, they've got these small clubs or organizations. I get excited when I see high school clubs begin to use domain names, whereas before they might have used a subdomain or something. Now we're beginning to see them brand with domains, and that's where you see the extension or the advancement of domain names being adopted by a much larger number of groups. The key, though, and the responsibility of these new domain extensions is to keep the pricing low, right? We've got to keep it very attainable for many different segments to be able to adopt these names, because domain names, everybody says, why don't you just price it at $20? Why do you price .club at the same as .com? We just really believe in that we want to make it attainable for as many people as possible.
So tell me your thoughts on this year's NamesCon.
This year's NamesCon really is a lot about finding opportunities of how to make money, especially with the new domain extensions. And there's a lot more optimism, there's a lot more deals happening here. I mean, we had a guy walk up to our booth and pay us cash for a domain, which I've never seen before. I thought that was just hilarious.
Wow. He just boom.
Just walked up and he just paid cash. He says, I want that name, give it to me, and he gives the guy at the booth cash. And I was like, I've never seen that happen before. I mean, there's just an excitement about .club, but also the new domain extensions and how, and different concepts that people are coming up with and things they want to launch, and it's really exciting to see.
So for those that are new to the industry, especially new to this conference, what are some words of advice or words of wisdom that you would offer them as they're just starting out in the domain industry?
Just starting out I think that one word of wisdom is, don't stay up till 4 a.m. and go out late to the parties. And exactly, it was incredible parties last night. That was fun. Yeah. No, I think that go to the sessions, try to find a niche. Especially, if you're a domain investor, the best way to maximize your sales of your names is to understand an industry. If you understand a particular industry really well, and you can go into the market and you can acquire names at very low costs, even new GTLDs with meaning. If let's say you're in the banking industry and or finance industry, and you want like a .broker name, or you want a .financial, and you can acquire some good names and then target those names to prospective buyers or users of those names. I think there's a winning formula there, especially because I've seen some of these new domain extensions, quite frankly, sell very, very inexpensively. Like yesterday, when you see names like jet.ski or water.ski sell for a few $1,000s, and .ski is a fairly small, group of names that are really valuable, and those, some of them, if you're in that industry, you could take those names and get them in the hands of the right people and really begin to make a good profit from that.
That's right. So I understand, we're here with Name Pros, of course. I understand that you are a contributor in the forums there. Can you tell us about your experience there and what, there's been some great changes there, and talk about your involvement with Name Pros.
Well, it's interesting because, my staff sometimes say, well, why do you spend all your time on Name Pro? And for me, it's about really connecting directly with some of our customers. There are a lot of people who buy .club names, and they post those names on our. We have a .club official forum, and so I actually, I often respond. It's been funny too. It's not always positive. We had a funny situation where so embarrassingly so, our site was hacked, and we had some malware on our site, and someone posted that on NamePros. It was interesting though. Got immediate feedback. Got my CTO on it. We're working on it, and I responded back really quickly. So sometimes not always positive, and sometimes it can be a little bit embarrassing. But I really do like connecting with and discussing topics with different people on NamePros, because it's a great learning environment for me, by the way, because I happened to become a domain name investor after we got the domain extension, and we have a large number of premium names. So I learn from it, but it's also great for me to give feedback for people who have positive things to say or even negative things to say.
Yeah. There's definitely been a sea change as far that I've noticed since I've started, this conference has actually sprouted, is the sea change of reception to these new extensions. It was met with a lot of skepticism at first. There was sort of two camps battling it out for the message of, is it going to work, is it not going to work? And I remember even Frank Schilling kind of stood up and just said, we won't know for a little while. And I thought that was an incredible answer because it was honest and it was real, but it's definitely, the vibe here is now that it's working, it's happening. And
well, there are so many great examples of real, live sites. We gave him one in Australia, betting.club. He paid, I think, $5,000 for betting.club. Now imagine what he would have had to pay for betting.com. Millions, right? I mean, literally,
Easy, yeah.
So, but here's a company, they wanted to get a brandable name, betting.club, and they now run billboards in Australia promoting this. It's actually an incredible site, obviously related to betting, I think the horse race betting and whatnot. But, they paid $5,000 and they've got a great brandable name. And it's not just .club, obviously. There are other great domain extensions. And I think domain extensions with meaning, they're the ones that I think will really have the staying power. I'm a little skeptical still of the domain extensions that are purely generic, because you do have .com. .com is the king of generic.
Yeah.
When I talk about club, we're not a generic, but we're also not we're a bit of a generic with meaning. That's what we call it, right? Because there's 100 industries around club. There's 100 countries, so it's pretty broad. But rollingstones.com, you think of that website, and then you think of rollingstones.club. It's a completely different meaning, right? And I think those are the ones that have real success in the market.
I think Keith Richards might have registered that, actually.
I don't know. I haven't looked, actually.
Yeah. Excellent. Colin, thanks so much for
Thank you.
being with us. Yeah.
Thank you.